Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
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 Jamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Sri Radha Madhava ki Ji Sri Radha Giridhari ki Go Premanande Jai Om Vishnu Par Paramhamsa Parvirajika Jaja Shuddha Shishi Maharaj Divine Grace Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Par Paramhamsa Parvirajika Jaja Shuddha Shishi Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samveda Bhakti ki Jai Go Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. There you go. And let's take this. A little too high, I think, maybe. Yes, no. Hare Krishna. No, no. Udam Pashan. Dikpash. In the sound studio. Hare Krishna. Sound sleeper. So yesterday was text 10, correct? We're starting with text, yes, there it is. Text 11, we'll read 11, 12 with no purport, and then 13 has the purport. How's that? Is that good? Everyone have your vices and devices? Damodar, can you come over a little closer because I need to read off of your phone also. The verse wasn't written. Who else are we expecting? No. So Janardan just stays upstairs, right? Okay. So this morning reading from the Bhagavatam. This is the fourth canto, chapter 7. We'll start with verse 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricham Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, text or verse 11. Bhavastavaya Krita Dhir kritadir nashaknod anuragataha outkantyad baspa kalaya samparitam sutam smaran bhavastavaya kritadir nashagnod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya sampritam sutam smaran bhavastavaya kritadir nashaknod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya samparitam sutam smaran. Anyone like to chant? Bhavastavaya kritadir nashnoknod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya samparetam sutam smaran. Bhavastavaya kritadir nashaknod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya samparitam sutam smaran.
Bhavastavaya kritadir
nashnoknod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya samparitam sutam smaran. Bhavastavaya kritadir nashnoknod anuragataha outkantyad bashpa kalaya. So, word for word, Bhavastavaya, for praying to Lord Shiva, Kratadihi, although decided, Na, never, Ashaknot, was able, Anuragataha, by feeling, Outkantyat, because of eagerness, Baspa Kalaya, with tears in the eyes, Samparitam, dead, Sutam, daughter, Smaran, remembering. King Daksha wanted to offer prayers to Lord Shiva, but as he remembered the ill-fated death of his daughter Sati, his eyes filled with tears, and in bereavement his voice choked up, and he could not say anything. Text 12, translation. At this time, King Daksha, afflicted by love and affection, was very much awakened to his real senses. With great endeavor, he pacified his mind, checked his feelings, and with pure consciousness began to offer prayers to Lord Shiva. And here's the verse for today. King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I committed a great offense against you, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Vishnu never neglect even useless, unqualified Brahmins. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing sacrifices?" Please repeat. King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I committed a great offense against you, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Vishnu never neglect even useless, unqualified Brahmanas. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing sacrifices?" Okay, purport, Srila Prabhupada. Although Daksha felt defeated, He knew that his punishment was simply, the great mercy of Lord Shiva. He remembered that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are never neglectful of the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas are sometimes unqualified. According to Vedic civilization, a descendant of a Brahmana family should never be heavily punished. This was exemplified in Arjuna's treatment of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama was the son of a great Brahmin, Dronacharya, and in spite of his having committed the great offense of killing all the sleeping sons of the Pandavas, for which he was condemned even by Lord Krishna, Arjuna excused him by not killing him because he happened to be the son of a Brahmana. The word Brahmana Bandhushu used here is significant. Brahma Bandhu means a person who is born of a Brahmana father but whose activities are not up to the standard of the Brahmanas. Such a person is not a Brahmana but a Brahmana Bandhu. Daksha proved himself to be a Brahmana Bandhu. He was born of a great Brahmana father, Lord Brahma, but his treatment of Lord Shiva was not exactly Brahminical. Therefore, he admitted that he was not a perfect Brahmana. Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, however, are affectionate even to an imperfect Brahmana. Lord Shiva punished Daksha not as one does his enemy, rather he punished Daksha just to bring him to his senses so that he would know that he had done wrong. Daksha could understand this, and he acknowledged the great mercy of Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva towards the fallen Brahmanas, including even himself. Although he was fallen, his vow was to execute the sacrifice, as is a duty of Brahmanas, and thus he began his prayers to Lord Shiva. Om Agyantimarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksulilminitam Dena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Excuse me. It's all that noise out there. It's just the traffic and the water. It is raining now? How auspicious. Very good. Okay. Banchakapadrupascha kripa sindhu bhevacha patidanam bhavani bho vaishnavi bho namo namaha. Do I have your collective permission to say something? Damodar? Okay. So, today's purport, I think even tomorrow to some extent also, we're talking about chastisement and punishment, which is absolutely necessary if anyone's going to learn and grow, because we're not perfect, we don't know everything, and a teacher will point things out to us. Now, there's a contrast here between ordinary punishment and punishment given out of affection. In fact, it says here that Lord Shiva's punishment of Daksha was not like the punishment of an enemy. Now, we know Lord Shiva can punish his enemies. Right? There's many different examples of that. And Lord Vishnu also. But when there's the punishment of a given out of affection, the punishment is there, and sometimes it's very severe. What do they call it? Tough love. You ever hear that expression? Tough love. Okay. So, but it's seen as it should be seen as great mercy, like that. It's great mercy, just like Advaita Charya. You know the pastime there. It's described in great detail in Chaitanya Bhagavatam. He was always upset that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was offering him all respects as an elder, and so on, and he didn't like that. So he wanted to be actually chastised by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's why he had his plan of speaking Mayavadi philosophy, right? And that would Lord Chaitanya would stop offering him all kinds of respects and chastise him, and that's what happened. When Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu they heard, and they went to his house, and they actually Mahaprabhu started beating him up physically, punching him and beating him up, and And Sita Rani came out begging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to stop. He was severely beating him and yelling at him about speaking Mayavad philosophy. And Advaita Acharya was in great ecstasy the whole time. It was his plan. It was revealed that it was his plan just to get to be treated like that instead of being offered respect. So sometimes things like that happen. It's the great mercy of the Lord. It's a great mercy of any caretaker, to be very vigilant of their dependents, whether it's a teacher to a student, a parent to the child, guru to the disciple, you could say a political head to the citizens. They're very, very careful, because the very nature of this material world is it's a dangerous place, and that danger takes many different forms, sometimes from outside and sometimes from inside. People can go astray, one's dependents can go astray, and one has to be very, very conscientious of that and do the needful, which is sometimes in the form of punishment and chastisement. Now, one point that's brought up here, there's Brahma Bandhu Shu. Bandhu means friend, right? Like Dina Bandhu, what does that mean? Friend of the funded. We had a devotee here, what was his name? Mahabandhu, the big friend. And he wasn't that big. Mahabandhu was a Bengali devotee. But maybe that's why they gave him the name. Mahabandhu, big friend. That's Krishna. Krishna's everyone's friend. But it refers to someone born in a Brahmin family that's not acting as a Brahmin. So one point there, which is brought up through these different verses, is the ultimate qualification, or the defining qualification of any position in life is one's action. Doesn't matter. You can have, you can say, just like there's a saying, what do you call a doctor that graduated last in his class?
Not sure. I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Do you know what you call a doctor that graduated last in his class? Call him doctor, right? So he graduated last, just barely squeaked by. They made sure he wasn't going to kill anyone, but he still got his degree. So he's probably not that good of a doctor. He's like, well, but you still call him a doctor. So the point is that you may have that degree on your wall, right? You have that scored up a qualification. You went to school, you got the diploma and all that. But there's that, and there's also your activities. Are you a good doctor? Are you a good attorney? Are you a good this or that? Whatever. It's your actions. So the same with, I was born in a very, very nice Brahmin family, but how are you acting now? Bandirai Maharaj tells a story. I don't know if it's true or not. Probably is, right? All his stories are pretty true. But when he was a temple president there in Ann Arbor, he tells a story that an Indian family came, or some Indian gentleman came, and they're talking about, Krishna conscious devotees and this and that. And the man said, I am also a Brahmin. And he showed him his thread. It was all dirty and everything. He went like this, and a pack of cigarettes fell out of his pocket. He said, I'm also a Brahmin. I have my thread. So the point being, what kind of Brahmin is that? So it's not just birth. And those who, just by birth, without qualification, they're known as Brahma Bandhu Shu, or Brahma Bandhu, like that. So one has to, their activities have to be up to the standard of Brahmanas. But what's saying here in Vedic culture, even a Brahma Bandhu is given some leniency by the Lord. Even one may not be on the highest level, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva are also very, very inclined like that. And the history is Ashwatthama. The history of Ashwatthama, that after the battle of Kurukshetra, he thought it would please his commander-in-chief, Duryodhana, that he killed the last of the Pandavas. And in their sleep, he had them beheaded. And actually, when he actually beheaded them and grabbed the heads. How gruesome, huh? What do you think? That's pretty gruesome. Just think about that for a second. He cut off their heads. And he grabbed the 5 heads, and he went to Duryodhana, who was lying there with his broken hip, after he'd been slammed by Bhima, and showed him the bag of heads, or showed him the heads. And Duryodhana, even Duryodhana, children, well, teenagers probably, like that, they were there at the camp. And we can see how unqualified in many different ways Duryodhana was, starting the whole war and very envious of the Pandavas, wanted them killed. But when he saw the heads of the sons, he was furious with Ashwatthama. Why did you do such an irreligious act and so on, and just tell them to go away? And then Arjuna, the one that was discovered, who did it, Arjuna and Krishna started chasing Ashwatthama. And Ashwatthama again did something completely irreligious. You know what he did? Yeah, he became very afraid, and even though he didn't know how to properly handle the Brahmastra, he threw a Brahmastra. And then Arjuna had to counteract that. And then finally bound him up like an animal, tied him up and brought him back to the camp. And it says that the anger in Krishna's eyes and the anger in Arjuna's eyes were exactly the same. Red hot anger, like he should be killed, like that. He may be the son of Dronacharya, but the way he acted, what he's done, he deserves to be killed. There should be no mercy shown. And he falls in the category of one of the 6 aggressors. Like that, 6 aggressors. There's no mercy should be shown. But then Draupadi, she was saying, no, he's a son of a Brahmin. He's a son of your teacher, Dronacharya. You owe so much to Dronacharya. He taught you the military arts and so on. And also, Dronacharya was killed in the battle. So Creep was his wife's name? Was it Creepy? And she must be lamenting like anything, like that. So much was lost during the battle. So Draupadi was saying, don't kill him. And then, of course, guess who chimed in saying, kill him? Bhima. He said, no, you should kill him. So, kill, don't kill, what do? Show the mercy, don't show the mercy. And Krishna manifested 4 arms. It says right by the purport there to keep them away from killing him. But he indicated there's a way to kill him without killing him. And what was that? Gave him a haircut and took the jewel from his head. And it says in the Shastras that a Brahma Bandhu, can be chastised by taking his wealth and what's that word? Not ostracizing, driving them away, exiling them. That's just as good as dead. And then we see that also with, Kshatriyas also, because that's what's happened to Rukmi, right? Rukmini's brother. Right. So it's interesting how that all turned out. How to satisfy both parties and do what was right, Krishna knew exactly, and that was what happened. So the point is that mercy is shown even to those who aren't acting exactly as they should act, like that. Cut them a little slack. And why is that? It's because of the relationship. What is that verse about Krishna and the Brahmins? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jakaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So right off the bat, Namo Brahmanya Devaya. He's the worshipful Lord of the Brahmins. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. The cows and the Brahmins he's always protecting and helping. And it's interesting, in that verse, who comes first, the cow or the Brahmin? So what does that mean? Yeah, Krishna's very, very, maybe more affection for the cows than the Brahmins. Go Brahman Hitaya Cha. So, it doesn't say go first class Brahman Hitaya Cha, Uttama Brahman, right? He says Brahmins. Those are going to be Brahmins who are going to be all over the charts. But because they're Brahmins, which means there should be some sincerity there, Krishna's inclined. Krishna's inclined to them, like that. But that inclination is manifested sometimes in the form of punishment or chastisement, because that's what's needed. That's what's needed. Just like the other day we were discussing about servants. There's a first-class servant, second-class servant, and third-class servant. So what's a first-class servant? Damodar. What's a first-class servant? First-class servant. How's they defined? Do you know this? We discussed this the other day, remember? First-class servant, second-class, and third-class. Well, let's start with the third class one. The worst kind, servant. Even if you tell them, they don't do it. The next one is you got to tell them, and the third one, the best one, is you don't have to say a thing. They know exactly what you want, and they execute those things. Right? So that the low class one, you got to tell them, you got to yell at them, you got to tell them, you got to yell at them, and then they get it done. Maybe. Like that. But they're servants, right? They're servants, and the master knows, well, this one, I got to light a fire under them. You got to get them going. This one I don't have to worry about. Like that. So that's how it is. So fortunately, Krishna doesn't neglect. That was the point about Advaitacharya. If one feels neglected by the Lord, what condition is worse than that? There could be no condition worse than that. So the fact that the Lord is chastising a devotee, one feels great happiness. Who was the devotee who was chastised, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, in 1,000,000 births you'll get my mercy? Was it Mukunda? Who was it? No, that was Devananda Pandit. Was it Mukunda? Right? Because he was also associating with Mayavadis or something like that. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't tell him, don't call him, tell him, in 1,000,000 births he'll receive my mercy. And when they told him that, he was in ecstasy. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind. He didn't neglect me. He didn't say, I'll never see you again. It was 1,000,000 births. Oh, very happy. So the devotees are very, very happy that the Lord is, and that's how the devotee sees chastisement or correction or whatever. It's come both ends. Who's giving it and who's receiving it. That's something to discuss. So it's described here that those who are giving it have to be giving it out of, not out of malice. You know what malice means? You want to hurt someone. I'm yelling at you, I'm chastising you, I'm angry because I want to hurt you. I want to make you feel bad. I want to smoke you. Is that what they used to say? Just like waste you. Like that. Bah, 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 bah. Right? Every bad word in the book can just make you feel crawl on the ground. Right? Why? Because that makes me look really good. If you're, groveling on. So not given like that. Not even the slightest amount of malice. One should feel like that, and should be felt. And then those on the receiving end, they should be very humble and see, like Lord Shiva seeing, Daksha seeing here, he wasn't all upset. He felt the punishment was actually great mercy. Oh, thank you for being so merciful to me. I needed that, right? I needed that mercy. Yeah. So I think it's in the next purport they talk about the animals. You hit an animal, and the animals just don't listen. So sometimes you got to raise the stick. Sometimes you may even hit them, like a cowherd boy. An example is given, has a stick. And Gopal, right? Cowherd boy, they use a stick and they get the cows to get going. Whack, 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 move. Sometimes. Cowherd boys, a little stick. And they may hit the cow, tap the cow, go. They're herding the cows. The bulls and the cows, they have a little stick. They don't beat them, they're just a little ba. Or like an elephant goad, little goad, they're just a little something. And the animal knows they're supposed to go. Hut! Like that. Right? So you call their name, something, they don't go, something, whack, whack, whack. You see them, they're going to like that, whack. Just get going. So animals sometimes are like that. They need a little something, some encouragement. But on the receiving end, one feels, this is mercy. Because one is always looking for the mercy. One's always looking for instruction. You know the verse in the Bhagavad Gita about approaching a spiritual master? The 4th chapter, Tadvidhi pranipatena, paripashnena sevaya. So, Tadvidhi pranipatena. What does that pranipat mean? Well, that's approaching in humility, pranipat. Tadvidhi pranipatena, pariprashnena, questioning, thorough questioning, that pari means all around, and then sevaya, service. Then the spiritual master is very inclined to give some instruction. But that's the mood of the inquiring soul. They're always thinking, they're very humble, serious about inquiry, paripashna, and sevaya, ready to offer some type of menial service like that. And then they become qualified. But that's the mood. If the mood is, you're no better than me, I know more than you, and I think you should render some service to me. There's no guru-disciple relationship there. There's no instructor-teacher relationship, because those things are missing. It's obvious. It's universal. You don't approach someone for instruction if you think you know more than they do. You don't approach someone for instruction if you can't offer any respect and you're not willing to render some type of seva, some service. So if one's always in that mood, then when that instruction comes, however it comes, and it may come in the form of some type of chastisement. Prabhupada said that many times. He would apologize or explain to devotees after the fact, as I'm your spiritual master, I have to chastise you, like that. Please, forgive me for like that. But it's just that's the guru, like that. And if one's not the guru, then one really doesn't have the right to do that. If it's not your disciple, just like in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, what does Arjuna say? He said, I want to give up these friendly talks. I'm ready for the sauce. I'm ready to be instructed. Right? If we're friends, then it's equal. You know as much as I do. But if you want to be instructed, then you have to say, well, you know more than I do. Can you please teach me? Right? Can you please teach me? And you take the humble role. So that's when the Bhagavad Gita changed. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, it's adjusted at that time, because Arjuna says, no more of this friendly talk. Shishasteham sarimam tvam prapanam. I'm your disciple, and the soul surrender to you. Please instruct me. And that was his mood. And in that mood, it's very easy to give instruction, whatever that instruction may be, because you see that the disciple or student is willing to just accept it. Like that. Whatever it may be, they're willing to accept it. Like that. And sometimes pastimes are there, Prabhupada would just push and push and push and push until the devotee would go, Prabhupada, I don't know, I'm just a fool. Prabhupada said, yes, that's it. That's all. Prabhupada was pushing just so the devotee would say, I'm just a fool. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he say about his relationship with his spiritual master? What did he tell Prakashananda Saraswati? Damodar? Damodar. Damodar, you remember that in Chaitanya Charitamrita? I'm asking you. Do you remember that? Chant. Yeah, but the point being, he said he considered me a fool in the sense that, and he accepted that. Accepted that. Even to set the example that one always feels oneself a fool in the presence of one's spiritual master. One does not instruct the spiritual master. That's a big no-no. One doesn't talk back. One doesn't instruct the spiritual master, make excuses. One's always very, very humble like that. So, just look at here, what happened to Daksha. He lost his head. And he should never have spoken that way and behaved that way in the presence of Lord Shiva. So, this is an example. So we can end here. Any questions or comments? Is he supposed to have that microphone, or is it? No? Oh, there it is. Damodar hiding it.
Hare Krishna. So I was just thinking when you were saying that I was just thinking that when you were saying a devotee doesn't just chastise someone to make the person feel bad, make the person feel bad, and just drive them into the ground and just But then I was thinking also that in the military, as far as I've heard, thankfully I haven't experienced, but with the new boys, what they do is they go up to them and they go right into their face, and then they just yell at them and call them names, and just kind of really, with the idea that you break them down and then you build them up. Now, of course, I don't think we're going to do that in the temple, because I don't think it'll work too well. But
Right.
But is there a similar but in a more sattvic or in a more transcendental way, that principle within Krishna
Well, the
consciousness?
point you're trying to draw the analogy, the example given of the military, how they chastise people, and then also in a Brahminical ashram, of course, you have two different types of people. How do you give instruction to a Sudra or less than Sudra? How do you give instruction to, a Vaishya, Brahmin, Sadhu? It's all different. It's quite different. In military training is a different type of training. You're training these people to be hard as a nail and able just in a moment's notice to go and kill people. There's a certain mentality you have to create for that, and that's what they're trying to achieve. It's not an easy thing. You can't have people in the military. You can't have people who contemplate everything. I think we should, let's go over there. We're going to go into that village, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing, and maybe you can't. It's got to be yes, sir, sir, yes, sir, right, sir, yes, sir. That's just the way it's got to be, because that's the military. And one time Prabhupada says in that purport in Gita, just like military, in other words, you execute the order. But we're not being trained to go out and kill people and have nerves of steel and so on. Brahmins aren't like that. They're actually very, very thoughtful and contemplative and so on. So the type of instruction and so on is given in a different way. Now you could even say, sometimes even a situation like that is not out of malice, because the sarge, drill sergeant, so he knows that unless these young boys are trained properly, they're going to get their head shot off. They're going to get their head shot off. They've got to learn to follow, because they're trying to minimize the amount of damage and death and casualties in war. And the way you can do that is training them nicely. So in the long run, you could say the same motivation. Now, whether they're all pure of heart and this and that, that's something else. But the Brahmins are on a different level. But the chastisement is always there, because in every situation you're trying to learn. And we just don't know. So it's an art. But the key is, like you said, is where it's coming from. Like that. If you feel that this person has chastised me and it's only for my own good, just like what's being said here. Daksha is just saying he understood. It's completely. And he's there talking with the head of a goat. He could say, "Hey, that was way over the top. I mean, that was over the top. You didn't have to do all of this. I mean, look at everyone else has committed offenses against you, and I'm stuck here with the head of a goat. I mean, why did you do this? I mean, I could see you could have sent me an email or a memo or something, but I have a head of a goat. What does my wife think about this? I got to go home with the head of a goat, and just go on and on and on and on." But no, he accepted it completely and very, very humble, and he felt that this is exactly what and what does the devotee think? Oh, I deserve much worse. I deserve much worse. I should have really gotten yelled at. Maybe he should have given me the head of a worm or something, a little head of a worm or something like that. But so that's how a devotee feels. Oh, I deserve much worse, but Krishna's minimized it like that. So, but I hope that answered your question. And,
I was also thinking that this idea of
battery.
This idea of within different cultures and within different parts of the world, and then also in different times, there's different types of chastisements, different forms of
Yes.
punishment, different forms of correction. Now, of course, even nowadays, you go to India and how people were trained and how they were corrected is a vast difference of how they were corrected and trained in America, for example.
Just like they've outlawed corporal punishment in schools years ago. You couldn't hit the students.
Yeah, exactly. Like my mother, she said, she went to Catholic school or whatever. She said the nuns, they would, if you did something wrong, they said, put out your hands, and they'd get a roller and hit
Yeah,
your.
I got my hand in first grade. It was a mistaken identity. It was the boy with the same name. It
Oh,
wasn't
really?
even me.
Oh, wow.
Still got the blisters after
Oh.
all these years. No.
So, and I would say that a lot of people, just because of the nature, I mean, especially in, America nowadays with all the different laws and everybody's equal and all these different things, and people are getting less and less and less trained and corrected and punished as children, more or less. But specifically, I was thinking about this idea of being, you could say, chastised, corrected publicly. Because there's an assembly of people, and then you just publicly say something which may be seemed as, sharp and heavy. Some people say harsh, whatever it is. I mean, maybe there's some examples of Prabhupada. I mean, I could think of some examples of Prabhupada doing that, like when there was a Charnamrita, there was salt in it, and he said, who did this? And he called the person there and, corrected them. Of course, he's Prabhupada, he's the guru, this and that, but maybe you could just comment on that idea, what you think of that, or what you've heard about that, or
Well,
in terms
I
of its
mentioned that in the class
effectiveness.
about one has to be very careful. There's proper ways to correct people in improper ways, and one has to take that in consideration. You also take in consideration the person. One person may do something. Let's say there's two devotees who do the same thing wrong. They may be corrected in completely different ways because of their psychophysical makeup. One may be a very, very tough kind of devotee, and he needs a lot of sauce, and one may be a very mild person, and all you have to do is say a few words. So one has to be expert in all of that. And as far as public chastisement, one has to be very, very careful. If a situation arises, Vaishnava etiquette is to do it in private. Talk with the person, and make sure it's the right person talking with them. If you're a junior, you don't go up to someone and say, blah, 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 blah. You get the right person to talk to them. So there's etiquette. And, throughout the Chaitanya Charitamrita especially, let alone here in the Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada's life with us, they're showing what is the etiquette. There's so many examples how to properly behave with other devotees, and part of that also is how to be a proper authority and how to be a proper follower. And, how to give a chastisement, how to receive chastisement. That's what we're discussing today. All that etiquette is brought out. There's a very, very, that's there. Just I was reading in the, what is that book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Jaiva Dharma. So there's a conversation. There's this one person, young Vaishnav, inquiring about devotional service. And there's these sages that are gathered there, and there's a place, this tree in Navadvip, near Navadvip, that Lord Nityananda used to sit under. And there is the group of sages living. There's near some lake in Mayapur, some lake. And there was a Haridas was his name. He was actually so old, he actually was the last remaining person amongst them who saw Lord Nityananda personally. Because, the Jaiva Dharma is about 100 years or so after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here. And they were bantering back and forth, who should answer the question? And then they finally said, you should answer because you're the senior person. And said, okay, so I'll speak. So he started discussing, it was the behavior of devotees. And they started going through the different levels, the Kanishna, Madhyam, and so on. And just near the end of his discussion on Madhyamadikari, another very, very exalted soul asked him, can you tell us about the qualities of the Uttamadikari? And Haridas chastised him. Said, I have not finished speaking about Madhyamadikari, and I'm an old man, and I forget what my train of thought. So please don't ask that question now. He was a little upset. And all the devotees were very, very quiet. They realized they just offended a devotee. And then he paid his obeisance to Lord Nityananda again and began finishing his discourse on Madhyamadikari. And then he went on. There's a little pastime there. A simple thing. Someone asked a question too soon. He didn't let him finish what he was saying. So he actually chastised him a little bit. So, and then they all took it. And then they went on with that thing. It was very sweet. Very, very sweet. But example there. There's so many different examples how to properly help people.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of like a few devotees. They were chastised publicly. And it wasn't like it wasn't like a Sunday feast or something. It was just, like in a Bhagavatam class, or maybe there was a few people around at a particular place, and they did it. And it just like, one of this particular case, it was their guru, it was their Diksha guru. He said something, and then later on, sometime later, he said, oh yeah, that was embarrassing me. He embarrassed me in front of everybody. And it was just really, years later, just having a hard time digesting. This other devotee too, and probably still doesn't like the Bhagavatam speaker who did that. So it's just challenging.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. I lost it. I don't know what I was saying. I apologize, whoever that was.
It's just challenging that,
Yeah, see, that's why you have to be very, very careful. The etiquette is there.
But even the guru, you could say, there was maybe 10 people around, and the guru said something to the disciple, and he felt later that it was embarrassing.
No, but I'm saying the etiquette is there, and also on both sides. Because also sometimes the guru, by doing that, pointed out this person has a very false ego that, 10 years later they're holding against their spiritual master or whoever instructed them. It's like, was whatever they're saying correct? Oh yeah, whatever, So, sometimes you could say that was a very heavy chastisement because it was amongst other people, but how have you taken that? Did you take it or not? No, maybe not. 10 years later, you should never said that. You shouldn't have done that. So it's a lesson, you can see sometimes there's a lesson on both sides.
But the disciple doesn't take it properly.
Yeah. And there's, that's another point too. So it's, ultimately, all we can do is control our reaction to what's going on in life. So if one is unfairly chastised or it seems to be unfair, how are you going to deal with it? Is it an opportunity to even become more humble than you thought you had to become? Maybe, what's Krishna trying to teach me in this situation? Yeah. And is it really for me to judge, the devotee who chastised me, he should never have done that. Well, maybe he shouldn't have, but okay, put that aside. What's the lesson to be learned from that? Because sometimes all we can deal with is the problems we have. Someone else has a problem, maybe they shouldn't be chastising in public. And that's their problem, and someone's got to help them with that. But whatever they pointed out, just like it's funny, not funny, but it's interesting in law these days, in court, a whole court case can be thrown out because of a little piece of evidence wasn't submitted properly, or someone said something, and they throw the whole thing out. The guy's, murdered 15 people, has been caught with a gun every single time. He goes to court, and then the defense or the prosecution messes some forensic evidence up, and they throw that out of court. And the guy walks. What? And it's interesting. So, what's the real point? So, that's another thing. You had a question. In the very beginning, you were the one who was saying, moving around. That was a long time ago.
I've heard that sheep should be treated on the same level as teacher, right?
Yeah, you probably read that many times in Prabhupada's books.
So, yeah. Just saying that Shiksha Guru should be treated on the same level as Diksha. So that means when the Shiksha Gurus correct you, you should act in exactly the same way as if your Diksha is, right? Right.
Yes. Yes, theoretically in the sense that the instruction is appropriate. Yeah. But it's your Shiksha Guru means someone you've chosen to be your Shiksha Guru. Doesn't mean anyone walking around telling you what to do is your Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru means you humbly accept that person as a spiritual authority. They didn't give you Diksha, but their instructions you value very, 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 very much. So yes, that has the same weight. Like that. Is that okay? Probably should have some, any comments? Okay, time for breakfast? Okay, Hare Krishna.
Where should we have the breakfast?
In a dry place. Yeah, probably the Krishna Lounge. Yes, question? Ram has a question.
You live life.
No, they need it because it's being televised. You're all over the world now by asking them. It goes all over the world, so they want to hear the question.
You live your life as a good citizen, and people like who are born in India, like me, and they believe Krishna. They go temple and ask for mercy. They don't have any long procedural thing. Because when we traveled last year, all the temples, there was people and people going. There are a lot of devotion in that. But then some like ISKCON, I've been coming to this temple since 1989, because 85 to 89 we live in Singapore. There was a temple there. But then my wife made more progress. I didn't. I come to temple, give my money, those things. And what I want to ask you is this: what kind of people who accept gurus, or there are certain people who like to have a guru, or they get gurus. Like we have some relative, probably, Reena and Ram. They have their guru. I see their life got a purpose after they had a guru. But the question goes back to the same thing. Who are the people? What drives them to have somebody else tell them what to do?
Okay, that's a very question. Yeah.
I speak a little loud for me.
Okay. What motivates a person? When would someone take a guru or not take a guru, a spiritual master? I mean, that's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Tad vidhi. If you want to know the truth, you have to find someone who can teach you the truth. Now, guru means two kinds of gurus. You have, like you said, shiksha guru, someone who's instructing you, and then diksha means initiation. And the bottom line is, when someone becomes, just like any subject matter, if you're really serious to understand something, you get a teacher. If you really, really want to understand something, you get a teacher. Just like you can sit in on classes, but if you actually sign up for the class and pay tuition, then you get the credit. So anyone who is serious about spiritual life, they'll find out a bona fide spiritual master, because the spiritual master, it's a personal relationship. It's a personal relationship. The spiritual master actually agrees to help you, to actually help you. And there's some commitment there also. So it's a sign of seriousness about the subject matter. That one actually has a guru. And what Prabhu said, don't keep a guru like a pet. You meet many people who have gurus, but it's like a pet. Oh, I have a guru, but there's no commitment. So when one wants to commit themselves, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna said, Shishasteham sarimam tvam prapanam, none of this friendly talk anymore. I am now your disciple, and a soul surrendered unto you. But you have to find someone you can actually trust, that you feel who can trust and lead you.
A lot of people who adopt or take gurus, somebody else, they're usually very low profile. But when I see them, once they got involved, they become very high profile. What is that?
What do you mean by high profile? Very active, very doing all kinds of things?
High profile means they find purpose.
Okay. Yeah, well, the guru, that's what the guru does. He brings you up to a higher level of understanding the purpose of life, and you become very active.
I never see the gurus are miles and miles away.
Yes, it's a spiritual relationship.
The mentally thing.
Yeah, you just by following the teachings, Krishna's in your heart, and he's the via medium between the disciple and the spiritual master. Even the spiritual master leaves and goes back to the spiritual world. The relationship is still there. But your question as far as, what kind of person needs a guru, or what does that mean? It's when one really, really serious. When you're really serious, then you think, I need a guru. And you understand what that means. It's not keeping a pet. It's not just so you can drop a name at a gathering. Oh, I'm initiated by so-and-so, so-and-so. It's
What's the pet part?
well, that probably gives that example. In other words, you think yourself higher than your guru.
No, once you have a pet, then you can abandon him too.
Yeah, it's all those things. Yeah? But the guru is not like that. The guru is something, a very, very special relationship. Very special relationship. So I think breakfast will even help more understand this subject matter. So we can stop for breakfast. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, srimadbhagavatam ki jai.